Welcome to SRAM Technical Communication. Today we're going to install the new SRAM XO1 DH 7-speed drivetrain. To remove the old drivetrain and install the new XO1 DH drivetrain, you'll need the following tools and supplies. For the cranks, you'll need an 8mm hex wrench and grease. For the shifter, rear derailleur, and derailleur cable, you'll need a T25 Torx wrench. For the cassette, you'll need a cassette tool, chain whip, and adjustable wrench. To adjust the rear derailleur, you'll need a 3mm hex wrench. To size your chain, you'll need a chain tool. If your cable housing is old or dirty, replace it with new housing. To protect your eyes and hands, we recommend wearing safety glasses and nitrile gloves. There are two drivetrain options for XO1 DH, 7-speed X actuation and 10-speed exact actuation. Make sure you have the correct compatible components. For a 7-speed X actuation drivetrain, you should have the following: an XO1 DH carbon crankset with X-sync chainring, a 7-speed shifter, a 7-speed X horizon rear derailleur, a 7-speed mini block cassette with an 11-speed XX1 chain, and an XD driver body. To get started, remove your old drivetrain. If you're going to replace your cable housing, measure the length of your old cable housing and match it to the new housing. For this installation, we'll focus on the steps for the 7-speed drivetrain. For the 10-speed drivetrain, the setup is very similar. Just refer to your owner's manual for the specific torque values. First, apply a thin layer of grease on the crank arm and then install the new crank. Next, attach the shifter to the handlebar, then turn the barrel adjuster in all the way. Next, you'll need to select the compatible 7-speed rear derailleur. This is based on the chainstay growth of your bike. This information can be found on your bike manufacturer's website. If your chain growth is under 25 millimeters, you can use a short cage rear derailleur. If over, you'll need the mid cage. Apply grease to the threads of the derailleur hanger. Make sure the B-adjust tab is positioned properly against the hanger and attach the rear derailleur to the hanger. Route the shifter cable through the housing and wrap it around the rear derailleur fin and into the groove of the cable anchor washer. Pull the cable taut. Click the shift lever several times to make sure it is in the highest gear position. Then tighten the cable anchor bolt. Next, apply a thin layer of grease to the cassette, then install it on the XD driver body. Remember, because you are using the 7-speed mini block cassette, you must use the XD driver body. Before we adjust the rear derailleur, we will need to install a chain. Proper chain length is critical to the system. Improper chain length can cause damage to your bike. To size the chain, first compress the rear shock to the point in the travel where the rear axle is farthest from the bottom bracket. Then wrap the chain around the largest cog and the chainring. The X-sync chainring technology on XO1 DH allows for optimal chain management, but it's up to you to decide how much chain management you need. So if you have a chain guide, route it through the guide as well. Add 4 links where the chain meets. X-sync chainrings come in 30, 32, 34, 36, and 38 teeth options. If you do change your chainring size, make sure you resize your chain. Now that you have determined the correct chain length, break the chain length as needed. Lock the cage on the rear derailleur, then route the chain through the rear derailleur and chain guide and connect the ends with the appropriate SRAM power lock. Now release the cage lock. Rotate the crank until the power lock is above the chainstay. It is important to make sure the arrow on the power lock is pointing toward the front of the bike. Apply the rear brake and push down on the crank arm to engage the power lock. You should hear and feel the power lock click into place. Check the chain tension and make sure the chain isn't slack. Place the chain in the largest cog and bottom out the shock to make sure there is enough chain length. If it's too short, it could damage the bike and components. Now that the chain is installed, you can adjust the rear derailleur. With the chain still on the largest cog, use the low limit screw to align the center of the upper guide pulley with the center of the largest cog. Place the chain on the smallest cog and use the high limit screw to align the center of the upper guide pulley with the outboard edge of the smallest cog. Place the chain back on the largest cog. With the rear shock fully extended, use the B-adjust screw to set the chain gap to 10 to 14 millimeters. Use the barrel adjuster on the shifter to fine-tune the shifting while turning the cranks. If you experience slow shifting from a smaller cog to a larger cog, turn the barrel adjuster counterclockwise. If you experience slow shifting from a larger cog to a smaller cog, turn the barrel adjuster clockwise. Repeat this process until shifting is smooth. That pretty much wraps up the installation of your new XO1 DH 7-speed drivetrain. Remember, the 10-speed drivetrain is very similar, just consult your owner's manual for specific instructions.